Hey, what's up everyone? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the Figma Guyver figure. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Guyver in particular, but let's go ahead and review this figure anyway. It was sent to me by Drunk Panda Inc., so thanks to him for making this review possible. This is a very cool looking figure. As far as likeness goes, you guys are going to have to judge that for yourself, since like I said, I'm not familiar, but I can tell you that right off the bat, this is a very well done figure. Comes with a few cool accessories. First thing we do though is measure the height so I don't forget. He stands about 6 inches tall, roughly to the top of his fin up there, and he comes with an interchangeable chest piece. I'll show you what that's for in a little bit. He comes with whatever this thing is. I don't know. Looks kind of like his body, so maybe his armor comes out of that or he comes out of that. I don't know. You guys probably know more than I do. Interchangeable fins or spikes for his elbows. I'll show you those in a little bit. And a whole bunch of hands. We have the 2 fist hands on him right now, and then we have 2 open hands for whatever. Really cool sculpts, very nicely done. We have 2 karate chop style hands, flat palm hands, and we have 2 gripping type of hands, and then we have some actual gripping type of hands. He does come with the standard Figma baggie and display stage also, but you guys don't need to see that since they all come with that. So before we get into the figure, let me show you the alternate chest piece. You want to just pop this one out, and the reason you can swap these out is because you may not want to have this one. It opens up and it shows whatever those are supposed to be, so that's kind of cool. But it does have hinges and a little bit of a gap there, so you may want to not use that. So the reason we have an alternate one is to get rid of that. So we're going to pop this off. And while we have it off, I'll show you what the torso articulation looks like. That's how most Figmas are. We have a ball hinge in there, so it'll swivel at the top and then at the bottom, and it will hinge. So let's pop the alternate chest piece on, and this basically just removes those joints and the seam in the middle. So it looks like a standard figure. So that's what that is. And then we can go ahead and swap these out while we're here. I'll show you that. They just pop out, little shaped tabs, so you put them in on the right sides. That's the right one for this side. So now he's got cool spikies on his elbows. I will post some photos at the end so you guys can see him in action. This is definitely the kind of figure that warrants that. As far as the sculpt goes, the head is sculpted really well. Lots of nice detail. Those kind of translucent looking eyes with the silverish red in the background makes them look like they're glowing. This neck piece is soft, so it'll move around with the head a little bit, so that's kind of cool. The shoulder pads are kind of soft, so they'll move around, and I'll go through the actual articulation in a second. This is all soft plastic sculpted on top, so that won't get in the way of posing him at all. Lots of really nicely sculpted organic looking shapes on this guy. Lots of little details. The paint application leaves a little bit to be desired because it's kind of basic. And then the shading is just not quite uniform. Like we have kind of a splotchy section over here for the thigh, not so much over there, but generally it looks pretty good. They got the shading where it needs to be, so it's alright by me. It's not glossy or anything, so I do appreciate that. This is bent a little bit, but I'm sure just a little hot water will fix that, so no big deal. The head articulation is just like that torso. It's a hinge that pegs into the head and then pegs into the neck. The part that this connects to is just kind of a separate piece that's connected to that peg also. So it can technically rotate, and so these look like they're stretching a little bit with the head, or they'll just mostly sit in place, but that's okay. You don't have to really worry about those breaking unless you try to pull the head off. It is a separate piece, so it won't get in the way. And that extra piece that they're connected to hides the joint rather nicely, so that's cool. Looks up and down, no problem, side to side. And if you rotate the joint around, you'll be able to lean the head from side to side also. The shoulder armor, it's connected to that piece of rubber in between the 2 joints, so that'll move around if you need it to. It won't get in the way. We have a ball peg a bigger ball peg that connects the arm to the body. Then we have the ball hinge at the top that also gives us our bicep swivel. And then we have a hinge here in the elbow, which is a little bit different than the standard elbow hinges on Figma, so it actually looks pretty good, much better than most of the joints or elbow joints in other Figma figures, so that's kind of nice. And then it's going to give us that articulation there. This one moves around, so this one seems to be stuck in the forearm. It actually gives you an extra ball peg in there to help you pose the arm around a little bit better, so that's kind of nice. And then the wrists are the standard ball hinge. Very tiny, very fragile, be careful with that, but nothing out of the ordinary there. The torso we already covered. The lower torso is going to be a single ball peg going into that. That allows it to just move around pretty much however you want to. So this guy really should be no trouble to pose at all. The crotch piece is floating and it's semi-soft, so it won't get in the way. We have that three-way ball peg then that goes into the torso and into the legs. You can see the ball peg there. So that'll move around on the socket, and then we can actually rotate the thigh around that socket, and we have a thigh swivel in here also. So you shouldn't have any trouble posing the hip at all, and like I said, this is really soft. So it really maintains the sculpt with also a good range of motion. So they did a good job with the hips on this guy. A little skinny, but maybe that's accurate, so that's all right. The knee hinge, it's a standard Figma knee hinge. Unfortunately, they didn't update it like they did the elbows. It is a little thicker, so that's good, but it would have been really nice if the kneecap was connected to the hinge to hide the hinge rather than to just sit on top of it, because it looks a little awkward once you bend it down, and it would have been cool if they could have just put that, made that where the hinge is. It would have looked much better, I think. But it's not bad, it's just not as good as it could have been. It would have been definitely better if the joint was up where the kneecap is. So could have been better, but it's not horrible. And then for the ankle, I'm not entirely sure what it is. Let's see if I can take it out without breaking it. I really don't want to break his figure. Okay, so we do have a standard Figma ankle then. I wasn't positive on that. So it's a hinge that has a peg on either end, and then the foot moves around on that. And we have a really nicely done toe hinge also. So cool figure. Mostly standard style for Figma. A few little updates here and there. But all in all, really well done. If you're if you're a Figma fan or a Guyver fan, this is probably one for you. If you just like cool figures, this might also be one for you. It's pretty solid. I would be buying it if I could just buy everything I wanted, but I do have financial limitations. So thankfully I have cool viewers who send me stuff to review so that I don't have to buy every single figure to get it on YouTube. But definitely a good one, and I do recommend it. Stick around for the photos here at the end, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other cool stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.